It's free.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the FDP by Android Authority, Android Authority's podcast, discussing topics in Android every single week. I am, of course, your host, Joshua Vergara, and I'm joined by our usual panel this week. Everyone from Nirav Gondia to Jonathan Fies, Joe Hindi, and Andrew Grush, our usual 5 panel at this point. We're able to finally record at a time that Nirav will probably be able to get onto the show pretty often, so that's pretty awesome. But nonetheless, this particular episode, we decided to finally do what usually is called a mailbag episode or mailbox or something like that, but we are basically going to call it an Ask Us Anything type deal. Every week we usually put up a poll with a bunch of different topics and we ask you what you want us to talk about, but this time we had you just ask your questions of us, and we got quite a few, and we went through some pretty good ones here, and it took up quite a bit of time. We have another 90-minute podcast for you guys, so I hope you guys enjoy. Nonetheless, we did talk about the future of Android as one of them. We did talk about Cyanogen for a little bit, also fitness tracking via smartwatches and whatnot, and a couple of questions after that. We went on a bunch of different tangents also, so you're really just kind of hearing us hanging out on this one in some portions of the podcast. But really, we had a great time with this one, and we look forward to doing more of these particular episodes in the future, so make sure you have your questions ready. We will let's say, put out there the Ask Us Anything is available all the time. When you go to our polls every single week, you can always ask us questions, whether it's on the YouTube channel version of this podcast or on Google Plus under our usual polls for every week. And you can ask us questions and we'll try to save them. That way in the future, when we do Ask Us Anything type podcast, we'll have a lot of questions to be able to answer for you guys, and maybe we won't go on so many tangents next time either. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoy this. We do finally have a SoundCloud account, and for those of you who've wanted SoundCloud access to the podcast, to the FDP, you can go to your SoundCloud app, find Android Authority, search that in SoundCloud, and you should be able to find the FDP pretty easily. But of course, you are still able to go to all the different podcasting programs, from Pocket Cast to Dogcatcher, iTunes, Stitcher, and beyond, and be able to find it there. For those of you on the YouTube version, make sure you click that card over in the corner if you want to get links to those particular ways of listening to the FDP. Listening to it on a podcast format in any of those audio programs is one of the best ways of listening to the FDP. Without any further ado, we're going to jump right into this particular episode number 17 of the FDP. Ask Us Anything. And I wonder if we did use the title that I said we were going to use after Nirav sort of spouted out a couple of nonsense words. I have to look back on the edit before I edit this podcast and find it. And maybe that'll be the title of this week's podcast. But in any case, thank you guys very much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the FDP.
Oh, here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail. Mail!
Bag.
Is that about...
We forgot bag.
I forgot about the bag.
Oh, boy. Yeah, changing up a little bit this week. I mean, we can only have so many topics every single week before we start repeating ourselves a lot. And who knows how often our audience wants to hear Joe rant about Android, even though this is an Android podcast. I just realized how that went. Let's say Lollipop in general, but we did talk about Android M last week. But nonetheless, how's everybody doing right now, man?
I'm like out of it, man. I don't know what it is about like Friday mid-afternoon. I think it's because it's warm outside and I have to turn off my air conditioner to do the podcast. So it's like probably 90 degrees in here right now. So I just kind of want to like a pina colada and a nap.
Pina colada, is that really one of your favorite drinks?
Dude, anything with coconut in it is awesome.
Okay, I concur with that.
Sipping on a pina colada.
Could get lost in the rain.
Yeah, we're gonna have a singy-songy podcast this week, aren't we?
There you go, guys. That's the 100th episode idea. Podcast the musical.
Podcast
oh my
the musical.
Goodness,
that's brilliant.
I think with us though, it's not gonna sound like a musical. It's just gonna sound like church.
Yeah, pretty much.
You guys like that episode of The Simpsons where where the boys do the boy band and then like the thing that makes them sound good dies. So like they're just singing and it sounds terrible. Does anybody remember that episode aside from me?
No.
Yes, I do.
That's exactly what we're gonna be like. It's what it's gonna sound like if we start singing on the podcast together.
All right. How about
I think it'll be epic.
Yeah. Well, how about Nirav over there, since you're traveling in? How are things going on your side of the pond, as it were?
We're all good. It's a Friday evening, so naturally podcasting is totally the way forward. And it's not in the morning. I'm really liking this new arrangement because, yeah.
Has it been, sunny where you are right now?
Well, yesterday chucked it down with rain, and then typical English weather today was bright, humid, and just I've had to turn off the air conditioning and shut the windows, so my office is a complete oven at the moment. And I decided stupidly to wear a hoodie at the same time because this is exactly how you do things.
Well, we've had just the shittiest weather here in LA because it's okay. I shouldn't say it's really bad because we've been in a drought for the longest time, and then all of a sudden this huge storm came in over the last couple of days. So now all these hippies can stop complaining. But the thing is, I've been needing to do camera shootouts for these Versus videos I'm working on, but I haven't been able to go outside and do it. So unless I'm oh yeah, I got the camera shootout done, but the phones died because they got wet. So how about
maybe a fun twist ending?
Yeah, a little bit. It's oh, here are all the pictures, and now I can't do anything.
And they're not waterproof. Hooray!
Yeah, right. Just waiting for the Sony so that we can finally get some waterproofing back in our phones. But anyway, how about you, Feisty? How are things going?
You guys keep talking about the weather. It's been a beautiful week here, and then perfect today. There's clouds. It's a little bit rainy out there. I'm liking being inside today. Otherwise, things are great. What are you laughing at?
You had to get a nice big deep breath after all that.
Talking about the weather, it's always a dead end conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Well, you
If
just
it helps, we've all got little feisty dolls
sorry,
here that we're kind of... Sorry, no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say that deep breath. You kind of sounded like you were sitting outside on the porch on the the rocking swing, watching the rain fall. Nice day.
Yeah.
On the topic of weather, do you have a specific phone just for your weather app too?
I use Tasker on all the phones. I don't actually watch the weather, but I've got elements in my Tasker widgets Tasker and Zooper widget. And, there's a big ring around one, for example, that turns red when the weather's bad or turns blue when the weather's cold. Yeah.
They should have an app that, when you click check weather, it says go outside, you Nimrod.
No, they do. They do have an app like that.
Is there one?
Well, it doesn't say go outside, you freaking moron, but it'll say a thing like it's freaking cold or it sucks.
It's gonna rain.
You don't like the more sensitive ones that are you should bring a sweater today.
Well, that's LG's one, as I'm sure Nirav can attest to as well.
Oh, smart home thing.
The smart notice thing is
yeah.
It'll be clear in the morning with some clouds later today. Bring a sweater. It's what?
It's gonna rain.
I don't wanna.
Don't tell me what to do.
I mean, it's kind of nice, I'm not gonna lie, but the one that gets me is hot and humid out today. Limit your physical activity. I'm bitch, do you not know who I am?
It would be really creepy if it was read in the Hal voice from that one movie that everybody likes by Stanley Kubrick.
Clockwork Orange?
No. Damn it, Space.
2001 Space Odyssey.
2001.
Yes, that's right. 2001: A Space. If LG did all those things in the voice of Hal from that movie, that'd be fantastic.
Wow.
Good morning, Josh.
That would be fantastic.
It's going to be cloudy this afternoon. Don't forget to bring a jacket.
Just wake up in a cold sweat off of that alarm.
Limit your physical activity. I'm going to exercise. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Josh.
It's terrible. All right, and then Grushy, who might have to duck out again on this podcast like last week.
Yeah, I don't like you guys. I have to take off. I get sick of you. No, I'm doing pretty good. It's rainy and nasty. So I've had very little motivation this morning. I'm not gonna lie. I still gotten things done anyway, but I've had to force myself through it because I don't know about you guys, but I get sinus issues and stuff, and when it's raining outside, I don't want to do anything. I just want to go take a nap for the whole day.
All right, cool. Well, thanks.
That just sounds like me on a normal day.
I get allergies. Don't want to go anywhere.
It's a miracle we get any work done, guys.
I know, right? I chose this career for no small part because it's indoors.
Yeah, well, and working from home. I mean, it is kind of nice. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, trust me, I used to go to the office a few weeks ago. I much prefer just, rolling out of bed and just crawling to the office and pretending to work and then going back to bed again.
And by that he
It's
means the
life.
laptop is on the other side of the bed. And he just rolls right over on his belly and just starts writing.
I'm pretty close to that.
Not
Like,
gonna tell anyone.
I literally start my workday like 5 minutes after opening my eyes. I just start checking emails. I have a routine every morning. I love that. Where it's at a traditional job, you get up, you have to, take your shower,
Brush your teeth. You have to take a shower. That's what he starts with.
Take a shower, brush your teeth, put on clothes.
Grushy's
I don't
like
have to do
Pigpen
any
over
of
there.
that till I want to. Damn it!
I do what I want.
Yeah, I still.
Grushy,
do those
are you
things,
trying to
I
tell us you
promise.
never do that, basically?
I still do those things. I promise. Just not necessarily in the same order I would if I had a typical 9 to 5.
Grushy showers once a week, folks. You heard
Once
it here
a
first.
year, damn it.
He does it old school because he lives out in the Midwest. He just kind of walks out to the creek and takes a swim.
Yep,
He's got to swing into it using that tire swing.
of course.
Whee! Splash. Okay, that's it. See you next year.
Well, today I was raining outside. I just had to step outside, Good enough.
Who needs a car wash when you can just drive around in the rain?
Exactly.
God,
Just pre-soap your vehicle and start driving around.
just put a few squirts of car wash liquid on your thing, and then
Just imagine being the person driving by and seeing like somebody outside in swimming trunks, no shirt, in the middle of a storm, just spraying Dawn dishwashing liquid all over their car. I'd crash into a stop sign because I'd be like, "What the fuck are they doing? Why?"
Oh man. I'm looking at our topic, or not our topic, but at the so Grushy put up the basically FDP team asks that we're gonna ask for people to submit the questions to the G Plus, which is funny. We're calling this mailbag. It's not coming from emails. It's G Plus Google bag.
G plus bag.
Yeah, G Plus.
To be
bag.
fair, I stole that name from another podcast.
Mm.
Just mailbag because it sounds. It wasn't supposed to be used in the show. It was just something I suggested in the chats before, and I just like a mailbag thing where we get like.
We're like, yeah, totally mailbag, and then Google.
I didn't
Plus.
realize that the phrase mail or the term mailbag was going to make it into the podcast.
Well, I mean, in any case, like I'm just looking at it. One funny thing that I just realized: the cover for our Google Plus page is still that random sticker in New York that I found. That's on a block, the corner of a block on a telephone, like one of those call boxes in, I think, God, where is it? I think it's like the Upper West Side or the Lower West Side in New York. And I remember just walking on the way to B&H Photo, which this is only like 2 blocks away from it. And I found that sticker on the freaking thing. And it was really awesome. But this past a couple weeks ago when I went to New York for the LGG4 launch, I went looking for it again with Michael Fisher. And sure enough, New York is good at cleaning their streets. Everything was very clean there, so no more sticker.
Oh,
Yeah, right? I really wanted one more picture of it. That would be really cool. But if to our listeners, if you guys haven't seen that picture, you should go to our Google Plus page and see that sticker. It was really cool that I just found it. We don't know who could have put that up there. It's not like we give out these big stickers very often. The only person we know who's out in New York for the most part is our old buddy Chris Wook. So I don't know, but he doesn't like going into the city, so who knows who put that sticker up. Anyway, we'll get into our topic. I don't know if you guys picked any topics from our dozens of responses. I don't know, Grushy, if you had one in mind already from this spread.
There's a couple of them. Why don't you start?
You want me
You're
to
the
start?
host.
Well,
You're the host. Start.
I'm delegating. That's what
you're the host.
you're the host.
You
God.
go first. No,
Wow.
You,
you
do
hang
man.
up first.
Grushy
No,
really.
you hang up first.
I'm
You got-
the producer, I guess. I just, or the director. The director. Yeah, there we go.
Something like that. Damn, you guys really are lazy on Fridays. Shit. you do stuff,
we are
God.
lazy people.
Well, one of my favorite ones is already this one, where someone's responding to an FDB post, and the first question in there is, this is John Matthews, by the way, future of Android. But then the second question is, can someone tell me how and where to get the FDP?
They did tell him though, so hopefully he figured it out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I will go ahead and do the whole spiel. You can get the FDP on all of the different networks. We're even on SoundCloud now, which is great. And for those of you who have been wanting the SoundCloud and whatnot, you can get the SoundCloud app and find us at Android Authority Podcast. However, you can search for Android Authority and find us there. And then Stitcher, and then iTunes. And because we're on iTunes, we're on all the other networks as well. Pocket Cast. I'm sure you can find us on Dogcatcher, on all of the major programs that are on Android and even iOS. And even from there, you can go to our YouTube page. We have a version of it up already. I try to make the YouTube version just a little bit different from the audio version by adding like a couple of pictures and clips at the beginning just for fun. But for the most part, it's the same thing except with a couple of graphics and a link to the actual show page itself on Android Authority. I don't know where we would go with this whole future of Android question. I mean, we did talk about Android M.
Yeah, we kind of already hit on it a little bit last week, so I don't know.
How about like a dream? How about like a dream feature, or something like that? Like cure cancer? No, not really quite like that.
What about a dream Android product apart from phones and tablets and wearables? Concept.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna concept car Android right now.
How is your Android Auto, by the way?
Android Auto, okay, it's not bad. The integration is really nice. If you're used to, I'm going to be filming all of this stuff today and tomorrow anyway. But if you're used to Google's way of presenting things like maps and all the media applications and whatnot, then it will come off as really attractive to the user. The main home screen with the Google Now S cards, which by the way you can't swipe away. You're dealing with so many different touch screens on these navigation systems. It's hard to make them all do the same thing. But the front page, if you searched for basically any location on Google, it'll be like, oh, here it is, and then you can just tap it and it will tell you to go there, which is kind of nice also. That being said, though, it's kind of weird having Google Maps there when I could easily just press Nav on the center console and it does the exact same thing. And the whole point of Android Auto is that it's supposed to quote-unquote replace the navigation systems that are already found in cars. But if your car already has a pretty good navigation system, it's kind of moot. So that's where my hang-up is with it right now. I don't know if it's ultimately useful if the car manufacturer themselves have spent the last, let's say, decade creating GPS navigation systems that are actually pretty good for the cars that they create. So that's the thing. In terms of media, the Android Auto performs media better than any Bluetooth iteration in a car, I have to say, because it's actually graphically presented onto there. So I will say that part is a little bit better. But the nav, not too sure still. Sorry, I went on for a while there, huh? Is everyone still there?
No, that sounds interesting. I probably see no need for it, but it sounds interesting anyway.
Yeah. Oh, and one big caveat is you have to have it connected via USB. It can't be Bluetoothed.
Yeah, I heard that.
Which, why? Like, I don't get that part at all.
Yeah, that's strange.
And
I think the biggest thing I'm excited for Android Auto is the ability for different people to jump in on it. Kind of like the Chromecast, where my music collection is significantly different from my wife's, but when she wants to hop in the car, she doesn't want to hear my music. So if she can plug in her device with her tunes, that's a great thing.
Yeah, and I suppose there are a couple of reasons why connecting it via USB would be better. I mean, you could conserve battery, but the USB ports in cars are never powerful enough to charge a phone. Like, that's just the truth. And the other thing too is it renders the phone completely inoperable. So let's say you want to look something up on your phone that you have saved on your phone. Can't do it through Android Auto. If you want to search for something, sure, you can use the voice actions to hit that button on the top right, and then you'll use the car's microphone to do your Google Now search. But then otherwise, if you turn on your phone, it just says in that lovely Roboto font, Android Auto. You can't do anything on your phone.
That would be really annoying. I mean, yes, I realize if you're driving, you shouldn't be doing anything else on your phone. But what if you have a really cool playlist of songs and you're the you're the passenger, but you're like, hey, listen to my music, and you plug it in there. Well, you're in the other. You should be able to use your phone still.
Well, the hope is that that person, or even the driver or whoever, would be able to use the nav system, the Android app, the Android Auto app, go to the media button, hit Google Play Music, where hopefully your music is showing up there, use the menu button, and then go through the menus for it. But even then, I don't think the menus are that intuitive yet. I use Spotify, or at least I am using Spotify for now. And
Me too.
like going through the menus that are created in Android Auto for Spotify don't get you to pretty much any of the songs you have. You have to have it in a playlist already. You select a playlist, and then you try to scroll through all the songs when you hit songs, but then there's like a finite number. It can't load them all for some reason. So the Google Play Music iteration is a little bit better, but the Spotify integration definitely needs some work, which I'm sure is going to be the case.
I don't foresee myself having a vehicle that has Android TV until probably like 10 years from now anyway.
Android Auto?
So, yeah, Android Auto, I'm sorry.
Android
Wrong
TV.
platform.
He's got this big ass widescreen in his back.
I was reading something about Android TV like a half hour ago. My bad. Android Auto. I don't foresee myself, having a vehicle for 5 or 10 years that has that anyway. And I know they will make, the ability to aftermarket at it, but I don't, it's still going to be expensive, and I don't see it worth. It's one thing if it comes with the vehicle, but to buy it for my existing vehicle,
yeah,
I don't know. To me, I have an auxiliary port, that I plug in my phone, and that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a
dock and I have, I have a 6-inch phone, so it's big enough for navigation as it is.
Yeah,
it's
not a bad platform. There's just all these nuances. It's like Android Wear in the sense that when it first came out, everyone was annoyed by a lot of different things about it, and then they had to change it in future versions, which I think is going to be the case here. For example, it really relies on voice actions. I know we had this rant last week about voice actions, and but if you wanted to look for a location to go to, you got to put the car in park to type into Android Auto.
What?
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
So that has like no logical sense whatsoever.
Yeah. Okay.
There was zero logic.
Yeah, right. And the voice actions, while not too bad, definitely aren't as good as let's say you had to put in like some sort of odd word like Café Beaujolais. Not gonna happen. So
you have to park up, put it in, hope that it knows what the hell you're doing, and then go backwards again.
Well, a lot of it is putting the car in park, like setting it up in the first place. That freaking car has to be in park the whole damn time, and then it has to, and then the phone will download all of the Android Auto versions of the apps, much like with Android Wear, and then finally it's like you're ready to go, and I'm like freaking finally. So that's the thing there. So okay, I hope that answered your question, John. I'm just kidding.
well, I'll jump in on his question. I like this one. I want Google to back up. In 2012, they talked about having Android on your oven, on your fitness machine, the treadmill and stuff like that. Where is that? That's what I want. I don't need more futuristic stuff from Android right now. I need everything they've already promoted and announced to actually come to life. I hope that answers your question,
What
John.
the hell would Android look like on a phone?
Do you know what? I completely agree with Feisty that if they did that, though, I would like them to finally deliver like integration. And I don't mean Google integration, which, to be completely honest, sucks across most devices. I mean Apple-like integration. Because I don't like the iPhone, but I use a Mac. And the only reason I do like the iPhone is that it just integrates so damn well within the Mac and anything you run using iOS or OS X or any Apple crap whatsoever, like Apple TV, whatever, it just works.
What was the name of that again? The system? No,
iOS.
The syncing system between Macs and iPhones. And iPads.
iCloud.
Is it iCloud? What was the name of it?
Is it?
I'll find it.
Convergence, continuity, something
continuity. There you go.
There you go.
I always thought that was a cool name.
Like Feisty, what Feisty said makes sense, but it's got to be just seamless. It hasn't got to be, here's another app that we're going to preload. And if you look at the new devices, all of them come with Google folders and they've got loads and loads of apps in them from Google. I don't want 60 Google apps preloaded like a separate app for every single damn thing they announce. I just want Android to bake it into the OS and make it seamless. Press a button, control my oven. Like, have a control panel for your life. That's what Android could do, and that's my, 2 cents.
Control panel for your life. That is one hell of a freaking marketing phrase.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Welcome to the LG Kitchen series. The control panel for your life.
Man, it would be freaking cool to go up to my oven, which is already securely connected to my phone. Well, probably not. Only good if you live alone or you don't have inquisitive people living with you, and be able to look at my.
This got depressing quick.
Well, look at my recent call list and make a phone call. Go. So what was that recipe? Or look at a recipe and have it show up on my oven, telling me exactly what hours. And yeah, I think I just need a robot in my life, and I'll be sorted.
I don't know. Technology, to me, smartphones are already making us stupid enough. Why do we need it in more places? We are seriously becoming handicapped. If the internet was to go out for even a week, there are probably people who would just kill themselves, would just off themselves right there. No internet for a week.
Well, speaking for the younger generation...
Well, you have to look at the good side of that. Most of those people are probably on 4chan. So... we'd never know about it anyway.
I know, yeah. Is there one better than the other, really? Well, speaking for the younger generation, and Grushy, when your kids grow up, you're going to notice this, I bet, because I know that I have done this as the younger kid. I remember when I would be sitting in the living room or in the kitchen, my dad and my mom would come out, see me there, and they'd be like, "Oh, the internet must be out." It's a telltale sign.
Well, you're what, 25?
Yeah.
I guess 5 years makes a big difference. That it does. Because we
Russia,
didn't have
30?
internet when I was a kid. Yeah, I'm 30. Well, I'm not yet, but I will be in June.
Well, I'm used to being the younger one, unless I'm in a group of people, and I think the only person who's younger than me in the industry, other than MKBHD, obviously, is Marco Hanna from Phone Dog. Yeah, every time we're all hanging out at these events, Marco's like, "Oh, I'm the baby again." I'm like, "Yeah, you are."
Feist, am I the
I get to
oldest,
say that.
Or are you older than me?
Well,
I am older than you, Grushy.
I thought you were by a little bit.
A few years, yes.
So it's Feist and then me, and then I'm assuming Narav and Joe are similar aged?
I'm
how old are
28.
you, Joe? Yeah, same.
I know how old you are, Joe. I knew you were 28.
Yay for being late 20s.
Yeah, see, I guessed that well. You guys just looked about the same age.
And here's the big the bomb drop for this podcast. Feisty's like, "Oh yeah, I'm a few years older." A couple of weeks down the road, we're gonna get him on the podcast drunk, and he's like, "Guys, I'm actually 50 years old," and we're all gonna freak out.
I've been lying about my age. Oh, and my kids.
Some days I feel it. There's no question.
Oh, yeah.
I know I've been talking about my kids, but they're actually 20. You hear him shouting at his kid from behind him. Hey, stop that. For God's sakes, Dad, I'm 23.
But yeah, no. So I guess when I was a kid, I didn't have the internet. Not until I got a little older. There were some of my friends who did, but we did not until 1999. So, we had a computer in 1994, but just the internet was Encarta encyclopedia. You just went on to Encarta with Microsoft's little encyclopedia software, and you just looked crap up. That was like the internet to me as a kid.
Dude, it was freaking Minesweeper all day on that computer. I didn't even go on the internet for a while. And then I discovered emulators.
Yeah, mine was that.
I had
a lot of video games, Red Alert, King's Quest, stuff like that.
Minesweeper.
I can play a mean game of Hearts.
I suppose
Hearts.
we should maybe go back on topic.
Yeah, this is a combination of a Friday recording time and then a mailbag episode, or rather an Ask Us Anything episode, if you want to call it that. And
Ask us anything, but we won't answer.
Well, we did say some of these posts will last some of these questions are an entire post. So yeah, I think
yeah,
we're
but
well
not
on
because
track at the moment.
not because we're focusing on the question. That's the thing.
What the
It'll
hell
last an
question are
hour.
we even answering right now? You guys are talking about Internet of Things and all kinds of random shit.
or something. I don't know.
Basically, what we should have said is we're just going to talk for an hour and hope you've answered any of your questions.
The Apologies Network. Yeah.
Right? Oh yeah,
I'm sorry, podcast.
Some of these topics will take up an hour, which is about 40 minutes of us bullshitting. So
And the other 20 minutes is weather.
this is when I need to throw it out to you guys. Did anybody find another question in this spread that they would want to? I have one in particular, and I'd love to get to it in a little bit, but I want to hear what you guys thought was a good question from here.
We did have like 3 or 4 people ask about Cyanogen mod or Cyanogen.
You guys are gonna have to, if we do that question.
Should we donate like 5-10 minutes to that? Because I can sum up my entire thoughts about Cyanogen mod in like less than a minute.
Yeah, if we were gonna get into it, I was hoping you guys would sort of carry that one, because to be honest, I don't know the whole story, and it seems kind of convoluted.
Nobody knows the whole story, man.
Yeah.
You have to like.
I
You
don't
have
even
to
think
be like.
Cyanogen knows what the hell they're doing. They're just, okay, let's have McMaster say something stupid. And, that's their strategy at this point.
Okay. I'll try to clear things up a little bit because I kind of sort of know what's going on. What they're trying to do is they're trying to build an app ecosystem similar to like Google or Amazon, but not like they get like an app store like integration into the OS like Google now does with like the cards with the various apps. Like that, but like easier for developers and stuff like that, and pulling away from Google, doing their own app store, doing their own integration and system like that. And it's actually fairly admirable that they're going to try, and then it's going to be somewhat slightly kind of predictable when they don't do that great at it.
So
Here, the way I look at it is like, because it's a good idea. I mean, it's something different, and I applaud them for trying it. But it's kind of like running a charity event, right? And you're like, oh, cool, a charity event, I can get behind that. And then the guy who's actually running the charity event is going outside, going, give me donations, or I'm going to punch you in the face. And that's Kirk McMaster. So you're like, whoa, dude, like, all right, I'm going to stay away from your charity event now because you're insane and probably violent. So that's kind of what Cyanogen is right now.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That was it.
Okay. I was going to say, basically, to sum it up, what Cyanogen is doing, their strategy is to do everything that they've been doing and go the exact opposite fucking direction. Instead of being an open thing, they're trying to lock shit down, and yet saying that Google locks shit down by creating their own platform of apps and services. That's the way I look at it. I'm really disappointed in the way they've been going personally. I don't know. I used to think that Cyanogen was the best ROM, and now I don't feel that way. I don't know about you guys, but I don't use it anymore.
Well, it's public perception, right? Like, even if they're trying... Oh, go ahead.
Cyanogen mod is still the same as it's always been.
It is separate.
Yeah,
that is true.
Cyanogen is Cyanogen. I try not to
me,
judge the
I still
ROMs.
connect them in my mind that because of what the direction that the parent company has been going, I know they're not connected technically, but because of it, I've just become disinterested. You know?
Yeah. A lot. I know a lot. Well, not a lot. I know a few maintainers. For smaller devices who are. Even they're like, man, what are they freaking doing right now? Like,
oh yeah, and I still love this.
I
still like the community. I'm not trying to say anything bad about the community. It's just, as a company, I would never buy a Cyanogen device. Like one that has it preloaded. It's just not my thing.
Let me ask you guys a question.
To those who like it, that's fine. I'm not trying to criticize. I guess I just feel like, they built themselves kind of on. I don't like the way that they've been attacking Google, and I'm not a complete Google fanboy necessarily. I just feel like it's been distasteful the way that they've done things.
Yeah, they should have just hired me to do a podcast. I'll do it for them.
Yeah, it's one thing when Joe does it.
I'm adorable. No one takes me
Exactly.
seriously, so.
So do you guys think? Do you think they're suffering kind of the same thing that T-Mobile is right now in the U.S., where when they were smaller, they could big talk and they were doing cool things, but now that they're really growing and truly getting into the industry and becoming one of the old dogs, they're realizing that they can't keep up the old ways, the fun and new ways. They got to do it. The way the industry has been handling it already.
Well, I see where you're coming from with that, but it's like two completely different like takes on something. On the one hand, T-Mobile is actually offering something that plenty of people have really benefited from, and then you're talking about like a ROM company where the vast majority of people are never going to know what Cyanogen is. And
See, I guess that's my big thing is that I feel like, and this is just like I said, personal opinion, but they're not really offering anything better than what we already had, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
what I'm saying.
It's different. And do I believe, I there was a question about whether that has any chance of succeeding in their vision. Actually, I think to some degree, yes. I just don't necessarily agree with the path they're going. But do they have some chance? Yes. Will they ever put a bullet through Google's head like Wonderful McMaster says that they're going to do? No. But could they have, continue to have partnerships and do? Yes, they need to maybe do a better job with the partners they do have, and not, the whole OnePlus thing and how they handled all that.
At what point do we start calling him Darth McMaster?
When he
But
puts
yeah,
on
I
a
guess
mask.
I was actually one of those people who was excited when, by the idea of Cyanogen being preloaded. But I guess I just don't like where it's gone.
Yeah. I think we cut off Narav earlier. He wanted to ask a
Oh, I'm
question.
sorry.
I was just going to say, like, I don't know when, but let me kind of chime in and go, I've used Cyanogen mod once, didn't overly like it, would probably still never use it, even if Cyanogen was just Cyanogen mod and not the devil who'd sold, someone who'd sold his soul to the devil, as Darth Master or whatever his name is. But yeah, my thought was, we heard all these rumours about Microsoft trying to buy Cyanogen, Microsoft's going to invest in Cyanogen. They all turned to complete royal crap. But could their new strategy...
Together. Yeah.
Well, like, they were meant to buy and then they were going to invest and all of that stuff. But could their strategy of closing stuff down, because it is a very Microsoft-like move, be the first step towards selling up in the future? Kind of enticing them to get on board and then going, give us your money, we'll sell you our soul to another devil. And you guys can fight over it.
Well, I mean, they already have some integration with Microsoft apps. Now, granted, not for Cygen mod. Just to clarify, that's just for, the Cygen OS. But they already now have... I'm not for sure what apps... Do you guys remember what apps specifically they... I think it's Bing and... Bing for search, Skype, I think Office, and a few other things will be loaded with Cygen OS later this year.
All that.
Yeah. So they're already kind of headed in that direction, and I think it's... But as far as Microsoft buying them, I don't know if I buy that. I think that... I don't know, I think that Windows actually has some chance. As far as being a big player, no, but I think that Windows 10's vision could actually see it being more successful than it is now, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I don't think Microsoft's going to necessarily just jump ship.
I think I'll probably agree on the Windows 10 that actually does have the potential, just like everything. But the whole problem with like Cyanogen is, so you've got, I know we said it, you've got Cyanogen mod, and just my thought is, how long before Cyanogen OS begins to influence Cyanogen mod, and when that happens, is that the death of Cyanogen
supposedly
mod as we
never.
know it?
I think they've done some
possible.
things to protect it, so supposedly never, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even include Google apps in Cyanogen mod.
Exactly.
You still have to go download GApps and all that jazz. Even though that Cyanogen mod, the official ROM for the the OnePlus, they are Google certified. Their Cyanogen mod ROMs, you still have to go and get the GApps separately.
That's the part that gets me, is like there's so many little lines in the sand. It's like, oh, like we're trying not to be with Google, but then this particular iteration of it has to be certified, blah blah blah. Like it's tough.
My favorite part is how Google doesn't let them put stuff on Cyanogen mod, and then like forces them to put stuff on Cyanogen mod elsewhere. Like oh, it's on the OnePlus One. It's actually going on the phone. All the Google apps have to be on it.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just developing it backhand? Nope, no Google apps for you. You can't put it in there. Like, really, Google? Make up your damn mind. Either we all have Google apps or none of us have Google apps. You can't do this like 98% crap.
Yeah. Well,
it's not worth it.
Well, it remains to be seen where that's going to end up going. Did anybody else have a little bit more to put on to the Cyanogen side of things, or?
Nope.
No,
right.
I summed mine up in less than a minute, like promised.
All right, cool. Well, here's the question that I wanted to focus on. Well, not necessarily focus on, but like to answer. Let's find the one.
We really should have written these down somewhere, eh, guys?
I have a few written here.
Well, no,
I'm just scrolling down through, like, where are these freaking questions? Like,
well, it doesn't take that long. I mean, okay, so I'm gonna totally mess up the name, so I apologize. But Dimitar Panayotov was asking, The best smartwatch plus fitness tracker combined that we've used or reviewed. And he had some caveats like, is it waterproof and shatterproof? Is the strap changeable? The one that's important to me, at least, that I'll focus on is which one is most accurate in detecting heart rate. If I'm not... Okay, does everyone in this chat have a fitness tracker at this point? Because I know that we had this whole Fitbit craze going on recently.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice. Is Grushy still kicking all of your guys' ass? And
No, actually, I've become extraordinarily lazy. So there's that.
Oh, the
I'm
honeymoon period
like
is
at the
over.
bottom now. Yeah, I'm at the
Yeah,
bottom.
I've not added everyone yet.
I've been forgetting to wear it, and also it's been rainy, and honestly, I just haven't had the time.
That's what I put it. Is like, how come you haven't been walking and exercising, Grushy? It's been rainy.
I don't want to go outside when it's rainy.
Well,
I have been exercising, just not things Fitbit tracks. You know,
Yeah.
I recently got a Olympic weight bench, and down in my basement, and I've been doing more of that kind of stuff.
nice. Some barbell training. I like it. That's my bread and butter right there.
Well, I'm still working on losing weight, so I'm not gaining muscle, obviously, but I'm trying not to. I never had much muscle to begin with, so I don't want to lose the little bit that I have while I've been losing weight. Mm-hmm. So it's important, to get that in. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay, well, I am not a Fitbitter, as it were. I'm using a... see, the thing is, after I got this particular fitness tracker, I kind of never looked back. I haven't worn my Pebble in a while. I haven't worn the one that I like out of Android Wear right now is the Zen Watch. I haven't worn any of them because, if you want fitness tracking on one of the many smartwatches that are available right now, I'm of the opinion that none of them are very accurate.
They're awful. Like the Moto 360 technically has fitness tracking, but it's nowhere near as accurate as even the Fitbit. And let's be honest, the Fitbit's not that accurate. It's easy to
What,
screw
for
that up.
steps or heart rate or both?
For
Both.
all of the above.
Both. Yeah, for all of it. It's not accurate. It's easy to screw it up or mess it up. You can just be tapping your hand to like some music or something, and all of a sudden you walked 50 steps. And so, but the Fitbit is more accurate than, say, Android Wear. Just at this point, none of them are that accurate.
Yeah, and
It's funny how many people
they may be
just
accurate.
use that as...
They may be accurate enough, but if you're like someone who's really into it and wants the exact, it won't be. But if you're like, you leave some room. It's just like anything else when it comes to like fitness and weight loss. Like with calorie counting, it's impossible to be exact with calorie counting. There's a margin of error. And so I guess it depends on how much margin of error you're willing to put up with.
Yeah, and I'm of the mind that if you're gonna calorie count, because people don't really focus on the even just the word stress in terms of losing weight and in terms of health. You could be perfect in your diet and your exercise, but if you stress the hell out every minute of the waking day, then you're probably not going to see those gains. I'm probably the only person who will ever use the word gains on our podcast. But anyway, you probably won't be seeing those gains. But the thing is, if you're calorie counting all the time, then you're probably stressed the hell out because of it. And I can attest to that as a diabetic, and that's the reason why I love these health questions. Is that I live this sort of thing. I have to, because I have to keep my blood sugar low and I have to keep my health in check. So as far as fitness tracking goes, Dimitar, I'll say in that case, you're probably never going to find a smartwatch that is as good as fitness tracking as fitness trackers are now. That was a terrible sentence, but I think you get my point. The closest one that we're probably going to have, in my opinion, is the new Pebble that's coming out. And the reason why is not because fitness tracking is built into the actual watch itself, but it's because those smart bands are going to have things like pedometers and heart rate monitors and stuff like that built in. Are they going to be completely accurate? Probably not. But if you can connect it to your smartphone, as the Pebble obviously should be connected to your smartphone to begin with, and you have an app like, say, Under Armour or Runkeeper or Endomondo, any of the many that are out there, then you can perform the tracking that way. And sleep tracking on the Pebble is actually really great because Sleep as Android, that great app for sleeping, is connected to the Pebble, so you can get sleep tracking that way. That probably ticks a lot of the boxes there for you, Dimitar. But as far as heart rate monitors, there's never going to be any optically used heart rate monitors that are better than the polar ones or the ones that you strap onto your sternum. That's just the truth. They are somewhat in the margin of error, but if you want real heart rate monitoring for your workouts or for daily usage, you're gonna have to strap on that heart rate monitor to your sternum. That's just the way it's gonna be.
A little pro tip, just from my experience with the Fitbit Charge HR. The way, of course, the position on your wrist where you wear it, but how tight you wear it makes a difference in the heart rate sensor as well. I find if it's just a little bit too loose, it reads way up. Like my resting heart rate will read like 120, but if I tighten it down just a little bit, it drops into the proper zone.
I've noticed the same thing, Feisty, on mine. I also had it randomly. I woke up and my heartbeat was 150. I was like, what the hell
having a
happened
heart
there?
attack
like
and
a
dying
bad
right
dream.
now.
Yeah, right.
Yep, it took me a Fitbit to realise I was having a heart attack. Modern technology, folks. Modern technology.
He wakes up with tachycardia. That's terrible. Oh my god. But you know, from that standpoint, I mean, there are so many different heart rate monitors, fitness trackers out there, and you know, this Polar M400, which is a watch that I use. You know, it's just the tip of the iceberg, and then of course we have the Fitbits. So, are you guys happy with the Fitbit? I think Roshi and I were talking a little while ago. Like he's ready to move on already, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the reason why I lost motivation is that it didn't seem that accurate to me anyway. It was easy to screw it up, or you know, so I wouldn't mind something a little better. I mean, I think for casual users, it's great. And the competition side, I mean, I do love the tools they make it really easy to motivate yourself through competition, but even that only lasts so long, you know. And so, because I've had it for a few months now, and I was real gung-ho about it. And like I said, part of it's been that I've been trying to focus on other things, you know, other types of exercise. But, well, and that's just it. With, like, those kind of things, it doesn't take into account, which is true of all, you know, step, you know, pedometer type tool. You know, it doesn't take into account biking. I mean, yeah, it will register steps, but it's very inaccurate. So, you know, it doesn't take into account other things. And so, I don't know, I guess I would like more, you know, more robust fitness tracking.
That's the thing. You're not going to get robust fitness tracking just from a wrist. Like
no, of course not.
Right?
I realize that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not. You can't have a wrist-based wearable. Just doesn't. You have to have more than that.
Yeah, like all of these iterations of fitness tracking or even health tracking, there's always a margin of error, no matter what. Even for me as a diabetic, like I do that whole thing where I prick my finger and I check my blood sugar on a meter, and you can only do that. That only gives you a snapshot of what your blood sugar is like. If you want a real-time look at what your blood sugar is doing or where it is at any given moment, you have to put an implant in your body, and you put it into your side, and then it connects via a wire. You're always going to have this thing sticking out of your body where you connect a wire, and then the module is going to look at your blood sugar that way.
That's
What
ridiculous.
about the future of Android? If we suddenly had, like, you had your Android Wear, and then you've got maybe a thingy-majiggy mob that you strap to your leg, and what do you call it? Strap to your arm or something like elsewhere on your body, and then it collates all that information. As you can see, people, I'm clearly like with the words today. Thingamajib and what's it face? Yeah.
You know what? That's the name of our
Something like
podcast
that.
this week, right there. Thingamajiggy, what's its
Thingamajiggy
face?
and what's his face?
I like that Josh said implants. I mean, that's what I said when we had the wearables podcast near the beginning of the string of this show. You know, implants, I think, really will be the future, where certainly for health stuff, implants can be great.
It's terrifying.
Not just
though.
health.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know
Not
if I
just
like
health,
that
I mean-
idea personally, but I'm scared
fair-
shitless of the future. I'm also excited to see it. You know, it's a combination of fear and
he's
you know.
as the future is dawning upon him, he has a baseball bat in his hand. Like,
Yep. I'm excited and I'm ready to go, but I'll swing if I
bring
need
it
to.
on, motherfucker!
I mean, seriously,
So we've
though,
established-
you can't deny that some of the things that we're seeing aren't a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Oh, everything we're seeing is like, at least when it comes to
It's not
implants.
that
and fitness
technology is not inherently good or evil. It's the people who use it, and it's people that scare the shit out of me, to be totally honest. And you know, technology allows them to be more powerful, then that's what scares me. The government already spies on us. Not to, putting on the tinfoil hats, just the idea of giving, the access of all of our data from our body and everything to the government. That's what, basically, yeah, they know exactly what you're doing. They know what your heart rate is. They know where you are. I don't know.
I think that would be one caveat I want for the future. Like whatever future trackers or smartwatches get this information, please just leave it where it is.
Yeah,
that's all
basically.
I want.
Well, and we're just it's the whole the big data movement that we're heading into. We're basically everything's connected and Internet of Things. I'm really excited for it, but I'm also kind of scared to see. When everything's connected, a hacker or a government that does what it shouldn't be doing with your data, they have a lot of power there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, let's see. What do you say we round this out with one more question, guys? I'm not picking it.
I'm not.
Do you know the one that?
Has that already been that long?
Dude, yeah,
I think people are just bored of us.
Hitting about 45,
So
46
I wouldn't mind
now?
I wouldn't mind hearing you guys' opinion on. I thought this was a good question. Should more companies go the Motorola route and use stock Android for their phones? And actually, to connect with that, another question was kind of stock Android versus skinned. So they kind of fit, hand in hand.
Okay.
The thing that I don't think
I was looking at that one as well.
The thing that I don't think people understand about skinned Android is that that's kind of sort of where a lot of the features of stock Android came from over the years. I know it came out on a custom ROM first, but Samsung's TouchWiz Gingerbread from all the way back in Gingerbread was the first one to have the drop-down notification toggles. And you've seen that got integrated into Android and ICS and turned into quick settings and I think it was Jelly Bean, right? Mm-hmm. And and so on and so forth. And I'd have to go and actually do the research, but I know that there's far, far more examples where something on skinned Android was really cool or really forward-thinking, and then it eventually got kind of integrated into the stock Android experience. So it's difficult to answer that question because you have two answers. It's either stock Android is pretty much as good as it is right now, and we trust Google to come up with brand new awesome features all on their own. Or skins are awesome, and OEMs are helping to contribute, kind of.
Neither answer
is really satisfactory, and I know that, but that's the way that it is.
In everyone's opinion, what do you prefer? Regardless of what's better, what do you prefer to use? Not saying you won't use one or the other, but what do you prefer? Do you prefer a stock or light Android experience, or do you like all the extras?
Oh, Symbian, all the way. Get
out. Yeah. You can go have your Friday Symbian podcast somewhere else, sir.
There'll be one person tuning in.
There's the one guy way in the back. Woo!
Because I personally prefer stock Android, but I have this Huawei the Mate 7 I've been using, and I've done my best to make it more stock-like as far as the launcher and whatnot, but some of the extra stuff I actually use, even though they're gimmicky, like the whole, taking your phone and lifting it to your ear for it to auto answer. Yeah, it's a gimmick, but I kind of like it, to be honest. And so I can kind of see both. I used to be more of a stock Android guy, but I don't know. I can see the usefulness of additions, and so at this point, I like it. It comes down to the hardware and the presentation. I'm not necessarily going to go out of my way necessarily to just get a Nexus or go out of my way to get a stock experience. It kind of depends on the phone.
Well, let's put out one caveat out there real quick. Even if you have a skinned version of Android available, then you are okay. You are not going to be changing the settings menus or anything like that, obviously, but you can get the Google Now launcher, and you can basically create a look.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
There's going to be certain things, your notification shade and your multitasking menu and things like that. But but more and more OEMs are making some of that more in line with Google's anyway. And so you can get pretty close to stock at this point.
I think honestly, to me though, that's what makes this year in Android so awesome. Is that I've said on all of the reviews so far for all the flagships that have come out. Actually, I've even said this for the Alcatel One Touch Idol 3, which is a mid-range / budget device. Android, despite memory holes and everything like that, for a daily driver, Android iterations this year, skinned or not, have been really great in terms of speed and reliability. But if it came down to it, like I'm messing with my S6 Edge right now, if it came down to it and I got sick of how TouchWiz looks, which I'm kind of not, I've never really had anything to hate about it, I have Google Now Launcher installed just in case. And I'm just clicking it right now, and there you go. I have a stock looking front page.
Yep.
Not
Well, it's definitely come a long way. Both skins and stock Android have come a long way. And because stock Android, let's be honest, go back to the gingerbread days, and stock Android was pretty not great.
Oh, you don't miss the jet black settings menu with the
I
orange
do
over
not.
scroll glow? Oh my god.
Man, that was like my favorite feature.
Yeah, no, that was
British
mine
sarcasm,
too.
people.
That's all
British
anyone
sarcasm.
remembers about gingerbread, man. Like, you ask like any like normal tech nerd, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, the orange over scroll glow, that was gingerbread, right?" Like, what else happened in gingerbread? Was gingerbread even worthy of anything? Because it wasn't until ICS they started being like, "Oh, hey, we should probably like fix these performance issues that we're having in, Project Butter and Jelly Bean and all that jazz." But nope,
I know
gingerbread,
the basically
orange.
the gap between two, and I've said this before, the gap between 2 point whatever and 4 is huge. I mean, because you look at even 4 and you look at ice cream sandwich and jelly bean and Kit Kat and lollipop, they're all basically there's definitely been progress, but they still have a lot of similarities. Whereas
There have definitely been changes, progress.
there's been changes, but
been
they still.
changes.
But gingerbread and Froyo and all that, they don't even seem like the same operating system as, whereas you look at a lollipop phone and you look at, a ice cream sandwich phone and you say, okay, yeah, I can see how these are related. You can't, to me, gingerbread almost seems like a different operating system.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right.
Do you guys have a favorite skin?
TouchWiz.
Oh, TouchWiz?
I hate to say it, but yeah, just kind of going backwards one step, if you don't mind. But one feature that stock Android took years to bring was a battery percentage monitor. The most basic feature in the world, and it took them like 6 generations to finally bring it out.
Yeah.
Or something ridiculous.
That was
guess
definitely
that's where,
OEM skins first.
To me,
Yeah, that was
personally,
like-
I actually prefer Motorola's approach, where basically everything looks like stock, but there's changes underneath that make it that add extra features. So I don't really have a favorite skin. I think Sony does a pretty good job. I haven't used it enough though.
I don't know. I
I've used it,
gotta
but not all the
see
time.
something. I gotta see something very different from Sony this year, or else I'm not gonna really be that happy with it.
Hardware wise,
I'm with you on that one.
software.
All over, honestly.
I mean, their
I'm just
software's
thinking.
not-
I'm just thinking about what basically looks like an ice cream sandwich like operating system in my head right now. That's what Sony's Xperia
That's
UI
true.
basically looks like. And
Well, you remember, like, it's based on their Timescape, and that was one of their first. It was like an app that ran.
yeah,
It was a custom UI that ran inside an app that ran on their custom UI on their Android phones.
Yep.
If I think I
remember
got that
that.
right in my head, at least.
yeah.
And it just. I mean, finally they got rid of that stupid all-in-one whatever the hell Timescape place it was, which was crap and never worked. But it's not. I mean, it's nice, but it's just not that nice. I mean, so my personal thing is I go either Sense and I go TouchWiz. And the only reason I went TouchWiz this time is because, Josh, you can verify this. The S6 Edge is the fastest Samsung phone ever made by a country friggin' mile.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the most unskinned, well, I mean, it's heavily skinned, but it's the most optimized. And finally, it's actually, for me, as fast as stock is once I've added 50,000 apps to put on the little features that Samsung add. And I can't name any off the top of my head now, but just like battery percentage was one of them before, or monitoring this, or doing this, it's just little features. Like, Google makes changes to the OS, but it doesn't seem to consider the little stuff. But Google making changes to the OS means that the manufacturers can consider the little stuff, which is where I think skins come in. And I kind of agree with Grushy that we've got Motorola's approach, which is always good, so it's stock but improved. It's almost like Google should have kept Motorola and just made them in charge of Android as an OS kind of thing. But at the same time, without TouchWiz, I honestly, personally believe that Google bought material design in to prevent the likes of TouchWiz and Scent from completely screwing up design of devices, because they looked a bit crap before Lollipop.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from with that. How about Feisty over there? I haven't heard from you in a little bit.
Oh, you woke me up. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
Nothing against you guys. It's just sleep. No. I'm glad that Narav mentioned apps. He's mentioned this a couple times, and specifically looking at the Motorola devices, the Motorola Root. Yes, I like the way they've gone, where it's relatively stock Android with a few changes. However, the apps, that's my concern and my gripe. I got a Google Play Edition Moto G, and I jumped into the the Google Play Store, looking for the Moto apps that went with the Moto G. I could not install any of them. They're made for the phone, but because the software isn't Motorola's ROM, none of it would work. None of it would even install whether or not it would work. So I'd love to see...
That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so, I
really,
mean, there's
really
all of these
strange, even.
options. I like the idea of Android kind of being the canvas, and then having all of these other apps and stuff that you can install to bring in the modules and the different ways of doing things. But then again, how many apps do you really want to have to install for, one app for a battery meter, one app for, just the little things like that. So,
I mean,
it's a tough call,
You've kind of hit the nail on the head, because the problem with apps is obviously you go and download whatever the hell you find on the Play Store. I'm sorry, I mean, Play Store might have a million or however many apps it does, but not all of them are great. And some of them, like, the irony for me was, the reason I stopped using stock completely was because a couple of times I've tried battery monitor apps that were false and made me think my entire phone was buggered. And right there, you're like, there's your problem. Like, do you use an app? How do you know which app is good? And all of a sudden you're like, no, I'd rather just get something that has it built in. And for average consumer, stock is great. I think stock appeals to the Android and the tech enthusiast, but average consumer is not going to go and install stock Android ROMs or even search for a thing. It will just go, I can't remember who picked up on it earlier, but just will go, that handset looks the best. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that. The software is interesting, but not as nice as how the phone itself kind of looks.
I would agree with that. I think that stock Android has more appeal for those who want a clean slate that they can customize the crap out of. But the average consumer wants, to be able to be satisfied with the out-of-box. Sure, they can customize it further if they want to, but they want to, there are people who probably just fine with the out-of-box experience of stock Android too, but I would say that most people who go with a Nexus device or go with, probably tinker. I know I did, I don't just keep it exactly how it was out of the box,
I used to be that way. I used to heavily customize my phone. I suppose I've gotten out of the habit because,
because you transfer their phones too quickly too. I'm sure that's part of it, right?
Oh yeah, that's part of it. But also the whole fact that if I could get a review unit, like let's say review unit in this case, if I can get a review unit and cater it with the way that I put together my Android phones, for example, let's say Google Now Launcher, no icons, no widgets, no nothing. I just want a good background, and all of my apps are going to be in folders in the dock. That's how I am. The thing is, every time I did that one time for a review, and then our big bosses up top were like, you have to show the phone in its original, and all that. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And because of that, I've gone out of the habit of even doing customization on my phones. So that's a little sad, but once the cycle of reviews and videos for all these phones are out of the way, I can finally get back to doing that. But right now, it's not the case. The last phone that I did that for was my OnePlus One. So,
Josh, I hate to break it to you, but you're never gonna do that again.
Yeah, probably. I don't think we heard.
I'm glad you talked about customizations. I remember when I first got the original Nexus 7. My office mate picked up the Samsung Galaxy the S2 at that time, and I was sitting there playing with Tasker, and he was interested. He installed Tasker. He was playing with it as well, but the Samsung software in the background, it was blocking things. Like Tasker was unable to change system volume because of some Samsung service in the background. It was scary.
I don't think we heard from Joe about what do you have a preferred skin, or is it stock for you?
I bounce around. I really do. And sometimes
Just the way you said that.
I get around.
round, get around, I get around.
Oh, I'm just an Android slut. Yeah, basically.
I really am an Android slut. Like, I don't care. Like, it can be skinned, it can be unskinned, it can be fat, skinny, it can like the Bee Gees, it can hate the Bee Gees. I don't care. As long as it's Android. And it's not Amazon's version of Android. Sorry, Amazon.
Fair enough.
But this thing is, it's never bothered me because, like, people get so, like, almost like people get with football teams with the version of Android that they prefer. You know,
Yeah.
We are Samsung warriors. We are Nexus warriors. We are HTC One, the few, the far, the occasional fan. Like, people get so, like, caught up in it, and I don't understand why, because at the end of the day, if you want to start with the blank slate and download 100 apps, you can do that on literally every Android phone, no matter what it is. If you want the stock Googly experience, you guys said, get the Google launcher, and then you start from scratch again and just download the apps you want to replace the stuff that you're replacing. And, if you have a stock Android experience and you want something ridiculous, like a full page news thing like HTC Blink Feed, there are RSS apps or news apps out there that have 4x4 widgets that take up your whole screen and act kind of sort of like you could recreate almost any experience on any phone, on any on any OEM skin or stock Android, if you just be patient with it. And I think something else that just gets under my skin is that people have such old preconceived notions of what these OEM skins are like. People are like, I used TouchWiz back when it was on the Samsung Galaxy S2, and I'm never using TouchWiz again. Like, why the hell not? That was 5 years ago. Do you have any idea how many things have changed in the last half a decade? You freaking old bastard. Like,
Hey, I just used that phone as a reference. Thanks, man.
sorry. I'm sorry, man. But it was the same thing with Sense, and even with stock. There are people who are like, man, I'm never going back to stock Android. Did you use Eclair? Like, yeah, I was potty training. It was that long ago. Like, it's just, people just, they don't pay attention to what's changing and what's new and what's different from what things used to be. And this isn't anything new either. They do this with desktop operating systems. Windows fans be all like, enjoying that terminal Linux, and Linux fans be like, enjoying that BSOD Windows, as though these two things are still somewhat common, and they're like not. And it's like, oh my God, like, if you're not going to use it, either shut up about it or use it and try it out for yourself before because things now are not the way things were a year ago or even 2 years ago, and they're certainly not the way they were like 3 or 4 years ago. And I've used all of them in the last, except for LG's and Sony's. I've used HTC, Samsung, and stock Android in the last year or so. And I mean, it's nothing like when I used them back in the day. So I really, people just need to calm the hell down and realize that, I lost my train of thought because Grushy's having problems in the podcast.
I'll help you pick up, Joe. I like what you're saying, and this is definitely one of the downsides of having so many skins and the OEM ROMs and stuff is, we get, never mind the preconceived notions based on old stuff, but there is so much variance, and it does open it up for the battles between the two. So, there's the different options in each, which is awesome, but you get these fan flame wars and stuff, and that's not what we want for, we're all Android here. We want to move forward together, but we're fighting each other on a skin level.
And,
you get people who have these preconceptions just on phones. Oh, yeah, I use some crappy little LG phone like 47 years or some ridiculous amount of time ago. I would never go back to them now. Or, I used a Sony 10 years ago and I loved it. It's the best thing in the world. And yeah, this one's amazing because you've never tried anything else. It's just kind of like, what the hell, man?
I'm thinking somebody who bought a Walkman back in the 1980s and we're like, man, Sony's awesome. I love that Walkman. And then they open up the Walkman app on Sony phones like, what the hell is this? This is terrible.
I feel that
not
way.
how I remember things.
Exactly. Where
do I insert the
felt.
cassette? Yeah.
But Feisty has the thing is, back in the day, there is a part of me, there's a small part of me that wishes iOS were still the the more popular operating system. Because back then,
Yeah.
all Android users had this had this thing where it was like, oh, I like TouchWiz over stock Android. You like stock Android over TouchWiz. But you know what, guys? Screw Apple. And that was like the mantra for being an Android fanboy back in the day. It was like, hey, you got an Android phone. Doesn't matter what kind it is, but you got an Android phone. Screw Apple. And then back then, screw
Joe,
BlackBerry because they were still relevant. And it's like today,
Well,
it's like, I don't think there's an Android fanboy anymore. I think the concept of the Android fanboy is officially dead because you have the Google fanboys and the Samsung fanboys and the HTC fanboys. It's like one team that broke off into many segments. And it's like, people are like, I'm an Android nerd because I bought a Nexus. No, you just bought a Nexus. You don't get a title with that. I go to McDonald's. That doesn't make me fat, I rant a lot. That doesn't make me, a prime candidate for heart disease. Like, just because you do something doesn't mean you own or deserve a title for it.
Yeah, we have to put meaning on so many things these days, right? Because I think
exactly.
I think this is going to open up a discussion that I can't wait to have, where we turn the looking glass at our audience and just be like, so why do you hold grudges over OS choice? Like, why? Like, well, I never understood that, and I still don't, and it annoys me. I mean, if you just read YouTube comments on our videos,
some of it is just attention getting. Like I've seen like you go onto one website and you read the article and you go down to the comments and they're like, well, blah 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 covers it better. Well, then go the hell over there and leave me alone. Like, because I've had people like I reviewed an app once. It was just a couple of years ago, and they're like, I liked it better when you wrote for XDA. I'm like, well, that's not happening anymore. So go back to XDA and leave it the hell alone. Like, the thing that, and this is a very small part of a much larger conversation where people have forgotten that they have the ability to vote with their time and with their time and with their clicks, because they go and they read all of these things and they go to all of these places and then they start getting uppity about it. They're like, oh, well, I go to all 4 of the big Android blogs, but you know what? I don't think this blog deserves my ad revenue, so I'm going to ad block just this one. And it's like, first of all, you're a piece of shit. Secondly, if you don't like one site's coverage, just don't go to that website. You have the ability to show them that, and this goes for everything on the face of this planet. And this is something that no one does anymore. If you don't like a phone, don't buy it. If you don't like a website, don't go to it. And people have forgotten that, they have the power to, to change how things are by abandoning the things they don't like. And what they do instead is that they figure out a way to weasel in and get the things they like, and that fools that, the company of that thing or whatever into thinking that thing is awesome. Like a movie gets stolen, 100 million times, so they go and make a sequel and it does really terrible in theaters. No one bought the movie the first time. They just liked it, so they stole it, it's... I'm trying to think of it's because it's such a wide topic.
Joe just has to come up with a rant for every.
I'm not.
Every
this is just something.
At this point. So now he's just working on it. It's like I don't even know what.
It always zeroes back into the same point. Is that if you don't like something, don't use it. But don't shit talk other people who use it. That's pointless. That's a waste of your energy. That's a waste of our time, and that's a waste of everybody's life. Like, you could be doing other things. If you learned one line of Java code for every stupid comment like that you left in a freaking article somewhere, you'd be able to code your own Android apps by now. Think about that. Like, take one step.
Well, and there you have it, people. Internet trolls as explained by Joe Hindi.
It's a waste.
Basic ways to be. This is the name of his memoir.
The rules of the internet.
Right?
So
I love it.
Before Joe's rant, I want to pull in one more question that sort of relates. So we were talking about how all of the various options and stuff. If you were to have a base skin and then just apps upon apps that you can pull in. There's another question here by Quadwo. Sorry if I got that wrong, but he's asking what we think about OEMs building region-specific devices for different areas of the world.
As a reviewer, I hate it.
That's a freaking god-awful idea all around.
I can't stand it, because I think his kind of question is one of the ones I was planning to possibly talk about, and I personally think, look, Apple will sell shitloads of phones because they don't make that many. Now, guys, Samsung releases 5 million phones every minute, and that's in one country in some random part of the world. God knows what they do globally. But if they released maybe 5 phones, and I mean for Samsung, to release 5 phones in a single year would be just 5 would be like praying for whatever. Really, it's not going to happen. It's unheard of. But if they did that, how friggin' awesome would their phones be? If they put the same amount of money that they put into building 5 million phones, 5 million different models, and just made 5 or 10 or even 20 because they're big and like whatever, and just limited themselves, their phones would be even more awesome. And I mean, let's be frank, if you're HTC, Sony, I love you guys, but you really shouldn't be doing anything more than 2 phones a year. Seriously. And
3
that's
phones
kind
a
of
year.
pushing it.
3 phones a year. And no, here it is. Ready? The handheld one, the 4.3, the 5.0, and the 5.7.
Yeah,
3.
nailed it.
The junior, the mid, and the senior. Yeah, well, it's a horrible thing. That was wrong. I'm going to shut up now, guys. Yeah, no, the small one. Small, medium, and large, dude.
With you guys.
French.
See, I actually disagree.
Really,
too.
it worked
I
for
think it's
McDonald's
great
and their
having-
French fries, didn't it? 3 sizes. That's it.
Well, we're talking regions. We're not talking sizes of phones. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And with
they don't
French
have
fries,
they,
Joe,
they don't
you
have
just get
Southern
another
Louisiana
order.
fries. They don't have India fries. They don't have UK fries. They have fries in 3 sizes, and that's it.
Well, we have British chips.
Food and phones are 2 very different things, Joe. If you haven't figured this out by now.
as he's
They are
chomping,
not.
as he's chomping on his Nexus 6 right now.
See, here's something that we listen to
Nexus
Josh
5.
say all the time is he brings in the latest and greatest phone, but it's a Korean version or a Chinese version,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have the support for the local networks.
I hate
understand that's frustrating.
Yeah, that's
and
my
that
main
you,
gripe
You know,
with
you don't want it, but if it doesn't work in a region, then what's the point of shipping it worldwide?
Well, I mean, I get the whole region specific, and I mean, you could, when I say a global flagship, I mean, okay, they're going to release a GSM version with support for every network, and I mean, it's not that difficult. I mean, I think the Mate 7 works in just about 98% of GSM networks around the world, or something ridiculous. It's got support for everything. Then they'll release a CDMA version for like the 5 people on Android, 5 people on Verizon who want to buy that phone, if they bother, and then they'll release, are we talking if it was a Windows phone on a Verizon anyway? And then you've got one version for China. So the same model, but region specific only for a technical purpose. Because like, if you look at HTC and the One M9, and I wrote God knows how many words on this, who the hell in their right mind releases the One M9 for global and then goes, oh, it was a bit crap, wasn't it? So let's go for Asia only and this little country in the middle of it. We're going to downgrade the processor. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to just throw in a massive, better display. I mean, like...
Or the new J Butterfly.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need for that rubbish. Just put it all into one phone.
I see.
backing up.
I agree with you.
Sorry, one real quick. Backing up Narav's point. Sorry.
Ooh, someone always gets it wrong.
I changed it on my own before I was told to, so I get points. Damn it! But no, this is exactly what
You're still a tosser.
This is exactly what Samsung.
Yes.
This is what Samsung does, though. They have they have the Galaxy S line. There are several variants of it to, coincide with the various areas around the world that they have to cover. But it's still the Galaxy S series phone. They have the Galaxy 5 I blah 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 and the I blah blah blah, and then the I blah 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 T for the T-Mobile version and the I blah 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 V for the Verizon version But it's the same phone. It's the same shell. It's more or less the same internals. The only thing that gets changed is what needs to be changed for it to work in that region. And thus, the operating system, the features that they baked into it work on all of them. And that's,
okay.
I think that's the right way to do it.
Joe, that's
completely true.
Kind of not the point, though, because if you look at it, they're all identically the same phone. But I might be guessing here, but based on what I think Quadwell was asking all right, region-specific flagships that best compete with the competition in those markets. That doesn't necessarily mean the same phone in different regions. It means it's a specific handset. So, like the One M9 Plus is designed just for Asia.
I know. No, I'm saying those are
using that
bad.
as an example because it's the
Or
most
the G
high
Butterfly
profile.
is just
I know
for
what I was
Japan.
saying.
The J
was
Butterfly is just for Japan. It makes no sense to not at least make those. I mean, some devices you can understand, but like the One M9, sorry HTC, I'm not just picking on you, but it's the only example that comes to mind. Bring that One M9 Plus around the friggin' world. Make a GSM global version of it and sell it, and you'll probably sell some phones.
silence.
gone
But I
I know.
agree
Did we
completely.
chirp there? What happened there?
Mic drop muff. Next time you do that and there's a silencer, just do this with the microphone. There you go.
Is this thing
That's
on?
the sound of a microphone dropping.
Is this thing on? I can completely understand why region. Well, I guess the term is not region locked phones, but region based phones have to be a thing. Is because these manufacturers, they need because if we had phones that worked globally and it first came out in one place. In the release cycle, then of course everyone around the world could buy that supposedly, and then you kind of kill the carriers, and stuff like that. Obviously, the carriers and the phone manufacturers themselves might want to control that particular ecosystem. It's just you're right. As a reviewer, I just don't like not having the full experience on a phone, and then I have to do a review on it.
Well, let's. I really think and I think Narav was saying this too. I think the question here was more not like the region specific, like having different bands and stuff. I think what they were really asking is more like region specific variants. Like the J Butterfly is a variant for Japan only. The Galaxy S, 5 Plus or whatever it was called with the QHD, for South Korea and with a better processor. I think that's more what they're talking about.
For sure.
Like making
and
a phone,
as we're coming up on, let's say.
And I understand that, and it frustrates me at the same time. Because, I could understand if I bought a 1M9, and all of a sudden, one of the things was QHD they decided not to do. Well, here's a phone with the same exact specs, and it has QHD. Why couldn't I get that?
As we're coming up on, let's say, another 90-minute podcast for you guys this week, I do want to explore this a little bit further as we come up to our last, let's say, I think we were up to maybe 10 more minutes on this for a 90-minute. Yes, there are different variants for phones, and they are released in particular regions. But how about just phones that are only released in one place? And I'm looking at you, Japan. I'm looking at you, Korea. When's the last time you guys had phone envy in terms of what's released in other countries that we never get here, either in the States or in Narav's case, in Great Britain?
It's funny
LG
that sitting in the States, we're deprived of some of the phones. That definitely didn't used to be the way it was.
Well, it used to be the phone envy used to be huge for me. I remember seeing all these Korean phones from Anycall or I'm trying to remember the name of some other one, SoftBank in Japan. The rotating screen and it's a flip phone. What the hell?
That's true. Of course, I was in Canada up until a couple of years ago, and I was watching the States with that same envy. Where's all the good stuff? And it's just half hour south of me across the border, but where is it?
Well, what was the big example for you at that point? Was there really one big phone that just didn't come out in Canada for you?
Let me go way back. When I was a youngster, movies went to the theater about a week and a half before they came out in Canada. But anyways, a lot of the phones, there's no specific example here. Again, usually just a delay on the release. Even that, I'll bring up the 7-inch tablet again, that Nexus 7, if I recall correctly, it shipped in the US before it shipped in Canada. And I had to do a lot of crazy stuff that I didn't do and I would never admit to get a Google Voice number. That's not a phone thing, but to answer your question specifically, the first question, not the second one, about what I envied before, what I envy now is a lot of the Xiaomi phones.
Yeah.
Well,
Definitely. Although,
Cheap and awesome.
we can import them in the UK.
Or the Sharp's phones too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not so much.
A Sharp.
Not a fan of
the phone. You're talking about that Aquos thing that was only on Sprint,
Yeah.
because that phone was actually really ugly, and hideous, and terrible, and ugly.
Well, of course.
I keep going until I hear somebody do something. I'm like, am I alone right now? I think we're running out of steam, guys.
maybe just a little bit. We had a very spirited conversation on a bunch of different topics. I think that's the main thing is we're on question number 4 at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still get a little
5
bit.
if you include the weather.
Oh, was that?
5 if you include the weather.
Yeah, true. I never not want to have a podcast where we don't like check in with each other at the beginning, you know. Like
Yeah.
I think that always gets the energy
yeah.
level up
I
a
think
little
it's
bit.
fun.
And plus, you know, like this is one of the few times we even get to let's say hear each other's voices in real time, let's say, rather than just in the Slack chat, you know. As far as the whole phone envy thing goes, like I don't really have too many examples now, but there are still some phones that I wish would come out here just to see what would happen. Like LG made those, they have those crazy cartoonish phones that came out, like super highly colorful, and the screen is
or I can't
on
remember how they're called.
like a bunny's face when you take it out of its colorful casing or something like that. I don't remember how exactly it went, but something like that.
I remember them.
Yeah.
Yeah, something to that effect. I can't remember if there's anything out in Europe. Oh, okay, I got one. The freaking Panasonic phone. Where the hell is that?
What, the CM1?
Yeah, I want that so bad.
Dude. I've not had one, but the same person has tried to sell me one 4 times. And they're probably listening, so if you are, you know who you are. If there's between the same handset has gone around like this 4 different people round in a circle. And, I mean, it's available, but I would never spend 800 quid up front.
I agree.
On a camera.
I agree on that. But
That's a phone.
if that camera is as good as their point and shoot line, I'm all in. And hopefully there's some sort of
The
development.
camera's great. The phone itself is rubbish.
Well, that was what I was going to say. If there's some sort of development team or development community for it, I would just probably ROM it to get the features that I want. I mean, I don't think that'd be bad. Because if I'm not mistaken, it has at least last year's high-end specs. That should still be good for the next year or so, hopefully. And
I think so, yeah.
yeah,
Just
so
checking now.
Wasn't it a Snapdragon
800, 801. I don't remember if it was one of the two.
I think.
Do you know,
It sounds
for
like
me,
a huge risk to buy one device that satisfies the two things. If you're going to get a camera, and you already know this, Josh, you've got lots of nice cameras, just get a nice camera, and then get a phone that, you know, is just a phone.
Which is true,
So you
but
can
like,
upgrade either at any time.
which might be true, and I agree with you there. But it's been a huge revelation for me to be able to go out. Like, let's say I have lately it's been the G4, but the S6 has been my main example this year of it. I go out. I don't want to carry around a camera with me. Like, usually if I have a camera with me, it has to be in a bag, and the bag itself is a bit of a chore to have around all these places. If I'm able to take out my phone and it takes a great photo and, let's say, video, if I want to do some vlogging, that's amazing to me. I think this year we've really hit a renaissance in terms of quality, not only in camera but in software and performance. These phones are really great.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
We even have some budget phones coming out with decent cameras. Like that Alcatel.
It really
Too
wasn't.
bad
It really, really
right?
wasn't. I don't know if anybody is on
anyway.
Twitter. I put up a picture of Michael Fisher drinking a beer with the sunset. That's the Alcatel. That's not even the G4. And we were talking about the G4 when I took that picture, but I was like, no, I don't want to use the G4 because it doesn't connect to LTE, little bastard. So I took out the Alcatel and I took a picture of Fisher with that. And yeah, like, it's gotten a good response on Twitter already. And yeah, that's the Alcatel. That's a $250 phone, for God's sake.
well, I mean, like, people say the best camera is the one you have on you. And you're right, Josh. This is finally the year that's not so much of a trade-off or kind of a compromise. Back to what we were talking about phone envy, really quickly. The phone I want is like a phone that has an aerial. Not because you could use it in the UK, because we gave up on any form of analog TV years ago, but because you want to pull it out and, like, you can pull out the aerial and then it reminds you of using these really old phones from, like, the 80s and the 90s, or in the 90s in my case, that had the big aerials, and it'd be like going back old school with the smartphone, just for kicks.
Like Josh with his sliding keyboard there,
Oh, man.
or his BlackBerry keyboard.
You know what? I apologize to all of our viewers that I have not done the follow-up. I do still have the T-Mobile G1, and or rather the HTC Dream, as it was called. And fun as it was to work on that, just trying to get it up and running with current Android ecosystem has been the biggest nightmare ever. Not necessarily from a user standpoint, but just from a logistical standpoint. I've been so busy with all these other flagships and whatnot, so I just haven't been able to devote time to the G1. That being said, I do want to do a follow-up eventually on it, use it for like a solid 2 weeks. I, I can't deal. I can't even with the physical keyboard anymore. I can't do it. The only keyboard that I can really see myself enjoying a lot are BlackBerry keyboards at this point, because this one right here is too squishy. I just cannot type fast on that thing at all.
What about a modern version of something like the Desire Z that had the slide out full QWERTY keyboard? I mean, yeah, it was like 14 millimeters thick, so it's really thick. And it's about 180 grams, so it's not too heavy.
Was that the Z-Hinge one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the HTC
Desire Z.
Or Sidekick.
It was the Desire Z over there. It was the HTC G2 here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with the Z-Hinge thingy.
The thing is, like,
I had one of those. That was baller.
No, this didn't have a Z hinge. This looked like it was just a straight slider. It wasn't hinged in any way. It was literally it just slid out the bottom with a keyboard. I'll put a link in 2 secs.
well, the thing is, that keyboard, if they were to recreate it, it has to be somewhat close to a BlackBerry iteration where everything's really close together, everything has a different feel. Because, I just can't have it in the G1. We are at the point where we're digressing way too much. We've had a really good conversation here, but yeah, I think it is time for us to kind of wrap it up. We covered a lot of topics on this particular podcast. Kind of changing it up a bit. We can only think of everything for so long. We have, let's say, what were the questions that we had? Talked about the future of Android, where to get our podcast. I mean, if you're listening to our podcast right now, you probably just got it. So, let's see, what else did we have? What were the other questions we had? I don't even remember. It's been such a long talk we've had. Region specific phones, skinned Android versus stock Android, and
stock Android in general.
And of course the fitness tracking question. So
Cyanogen.
There you go. Covered a lot of ground on this one. So we don't know when we're going to do another Ask Us Anything, but you guys, all of the viewers and listeners that are out there right now, make sure you head on over to our Google Plus page so you can find out where to put your input onto what we're going to talk about here on the FDP. This week, of course, we did Ask Us Anything, but sometimes we're going to have, or most of the time rather, we're going to have the poll, and you can vote on what topic we have. We'll probably have like 5 or 6 available there, usually 5, and you'll be able to vote, and we'll talk about what's going on there. One quick caveat, I'm not going to be here next week personally. I may do a podcast out in China because that's where I'm headed to personally with Darcy. Actually, I'm heading in there with Darcy because Oppo invited us out, and we're going to hang out with them and a bunch of the other media outlets and kind of get a tour of Oppo's operations. With that in mind, we're probably going to get another special show next week. I know there are a few people going on this one. Jaime Rivera is going. Marco Hanna from Phone Dog is going. I don't know who else. But even then, with those two and Darcy, we got a 4-panel podcast. So maybe the rest of you guys, my fellow hosts here at the FDP, you can take next week off also. But yeah, in that case, I guess we can go ahead and leave it at that. Make sure you keep it tuned to all that Android Authority does and listen to the FDP every single week. Drop us some likes on our videos on YouTube. Subscribe to that channel if you haven't already, of course. And then head on over to AndroidAuthority.com because, altogether, guys, we are your source for all things Android.
Clues. I mean, Android.
Hail!